on newspapers and magazines, and not like if a reader really liked my book, they can like upload a picture or like send me a private message, and that's so motivating. Like as a person who needs a lot of motivation to get to work, that's very helpful, and that makes me want to continue writing.
You said that being an author is kind of lonely job, right?
Yeah.
You don't actually socialize with anyone, and you're just being with yourself and trying to write.
Yeah.
That's what most or like big author don't do, but now with the social media, you don't feel that lonely, and you feel more
Yeah.
connected to who you actually writing for to read.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing for having a social media. So guys, ถ้าทุกคนคิดว่าอยากจะเขียนนะคะ ก็ลองคิดดูว่าการหาแรงบันดาลใจจากการที่ได้คุยกับผู้อ่านของเราแล้วก็ได้คุยได้คอนเนคกับผู้อ่านของเราก็เป็นสิ่งที่ทำให้เราอยากจะเขียนหนังสือมากขึ้นซึ่งตอนนี้แอนเดรียก็เขียนมาถึงseventh book, right?
Yeah.
Are you planning? How many books are you planning to write?
So my personal challenge is to publish 10 books because
10 books.
I have many
almost
friends.
there.
Yeah, I have many friends who are also writers, and we saw like a percentage online that said that only 5% of authors publish 10 books. So it's our personal challenge.
Only 5%.
Yeah,
And what about the rest? How many books they publish?
they like give up before they reach 10 books. So my challenge is to publish 10 books. I think writing, I will keep writing my whole life. If I'm lucky, I will keep publishing my whole life, but that's not up to me entirely. So far it's going really well, so I'm just enjoying the moment, and hopefully I get to those 10 books. That would be really, really good.
Yeah. Saying about to be published your whole life, if a person or young, like if you guys thinking of being an author, can you please help tell
Yeah.
them, like, would it be like a career that they can like maintain their life? Would it be enough money, enough income that they can just don't do any other job? And would you recommend for these children that maybe they have a dream to be an author and not looking for other things to do as a career, to continue writing? What would you like advise them?
So in Spain it's really hard to live just by writing because our market is not as big as the UK, so we don't sell as many books, but it's definitely possible. So far for me it's not possible yet to just live of writing, but it's something that I have, like it's like a dream of mine to one day be able to choose if I want to continue to have a different career or just do writing. But yeah, I feel like it's like a business like any other, so you have to have like a business mind and like maybe compromise a little. So if you want to be successful, maybe accept some, like maybe a publisher will write to you and ask you to write a book that you wouldn't write normally, but maybe you can do it for the money, or you can do it to like build a curriculum and be more attractive to publishers in the future. So I think that's a choice to make, and there's not like a right choice or a wrong choice, but I think it's a nice choice to make, and definitely it's possible. I'm still on the path to make that happen. I don't know like if I get there, if I will want to just write or if I will want to continue my career as like in publishing, but I think it's nice, and definitely I think it's good to have like ambitions for the future. So I think it's a good thing to have, even though it's very difficult.
Yeah. So you said that for Spain it's not a big market, so that means it's only English, right? That
Yeah.
it would last if you consider yourself to be an author, to be a published author, and keep this as a career. So you have to publish your book in English, so it will last a lifetime.
Yeah, I
Keep
think
as a career.
unless you are like a very best-selling like author, like very, very, very big best-selling, maybe not in English, but I think it's important that your book gets translated into other languages, or maybe that like a producer buys the rights to make like a TV show or like a movie. So it's hard, but like it's not impossible. And I have a couple of friends who made it, but they also do things on the side. So like I think you have to think of writing not just as writing books. Like you can collaborate with publishers in another way. So like my friends who made it, like they do other things, like maybe they recommend authors to publishers, or like they do events, like they have other sources of income that are related to their books, but that they are not dependent just on how many books they sell. So I think, yeah, you have to have like an open mind and be confident in your talent and know how to sell your talent, not just in writing books, but in other things that you can do, social media, or you can do so many other things just by knowing how to write.
That's interesting. Thank you, Andrea. พาร์ทนี้เราจะมาคุยถึงเรื่องเทคนิคแล้วก็ทิปต่างๆในการเขียนนะเดี๋ยวแอนเดรียเขาจะมาเล่าให้ฟังกัน Hi Andrea, welcome back to part 3. So this part we're going to talk about tips and advice that you can give to the listener of how to be a good writer. What do you need to do? What are the skills that they need, and how do you write a good book? So let's talk back to when you were preparing to enter the competition. What are the things that you did to prepare for that writing?
So thankfully, from previous competition, I received feedback from the judges. So yeah, so I could just like take, so I could take that as a homework and like be mindful of the things I was weak at and like play my strengths. So I did that.
Would you be able to tell, do you remember what are the feedback that the judges were saying?
So the main thing was that my book wasn't like structured well. So like I had a lot of like subplots, but I didn't have like a main story that like bind all of the little stories together. So I had to be very mindful of like what was the message of my book and what was like the plot, the main plot of the book. So that's something that I even struggle with now. So I think it's really good that I knew that that was a weakness from the very start. So I can always like be mindful of that and work on that really hard.
Can you explain more about subplot and the main plot? What are they? What's the difference to make in a good book from not a good book?
So for me, when I start a novel, like when I start getting ideas, I almost never have like a big plot idea. I just have a lot of characters in my head with like their own lives. So before I knew that it was like a weakness, I just like expanded the lives of my characters and I just wrote about their lives, but there wasn't like a main story or like a main conflict that hooked the reader. So it was hard to like feel like identified with the story and want to read more. So now that I know that, even though I still start with just characters, but once I have the characters like formed in my head and I know very well who they are and what they want and how their life is going to progress, is when I start thinking, okay, but what is the book going to be about? Like, what are the characters going to overcome, or like what is the main conflict of the book? It's not just about the individual lives of the characters, it has to be like about something else.
That's interesting though, but listening to it, it seems like also a good thing as well, because you are really good in details.
Yes.
So for those like listeners, maybe you have a big idea, but maybe you don't have the idea of writing a really good detail. So that's something that you would miss as well. I think it's a good combination for having a really big picture and also really good in details as well for a good book, right? Would you agree?
Definitely. I think it's very useful to know what you are good at, because if you're not like me and you're very good at the big idea, that's something great. You also have to be more mindful of your characters and how to make the small details important. So I think there's not like a right way or a wrong way. Like we all have weaknesses and strengths. It's just about knowing what those are and be mindful of the parts you are weak at, so you can work more on that and get stronger.
Okay. Can you tell our listeners too, what is the good combination of a good book?
So I think a good book has a lot of conflict to keep the reader hooked. So basically, so now that I know that's a main ingredient, what I think is like I have my characters, so what is the thing they are the most afraid of, and how can I make them battle that. So you have to think like you are the reader, not like you are the writer. So as a writer, you know the end and you know if your characters are going to be successful, but you have to think like the reader. You have to make them doubt that the characters are going to be successful. You have to make them be hooked. It's kind of like a TV show when the episode ends and you don't know if everything is going to be okay in the end.
The next episode, what's
Yeah.
going to happen?
So for me, I take writing in the same way. So like I try to end a chapter like you would end an episode from a TV show. Like, is this what is going to happen now?
Yeah, definitely. That would be a good trick.
Yeah.
Yes. So for that kind of tips, what do you need to do to write? In order to write, do you need to do any research or you need to go to the actual scene? I heard that you were writing about skating and you actually did the skating class.
Yes, so I think first you have to read a lot. Just find the kinds of books that you like and start trying to write like those authors until you find your own voice and your own style. And then I think research can be a lot of fun. I think a lot of writers hate research, but I think if you're very interested in the topic your book is about, research can be a lot of fun. And like Jup said, I love like being practical. So if I'm writing about skating, I love to try skating myself, or like I even volunteered at a skating competition.
Yes.
Because of course I will never be good enough to compete, but I can volunteer so I can see what the competitors see and know like all the secrets and everything that you don't get when you watch a competition from TV.
Yeah, I can actually see the whole scene
Yes.
what's going on, right? So you can write about it.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like being a writer is a little bit like being a journalist. You have to like get dirty and like talk to people or get involved in the things that you talk about. There's so much that you can learn from books or from the internet, but I think it's very useful to talk to people and to live experiences if you can, because it's that way it makes you can feel like your characters and you can feel like you are living in your own novel.
Yeah. Apart from doing the research, any other things that what other skills that you think like to be a good author should have?
I think you have to have like a good attitude and good discipline. So I don't think you have to write every single day. I think it's good to rest, but you have to have some self-discipline to say, oh, I'm gonna write this many words, or I'm gonna write from this time to this time. You have to think about resting as well. So I don't think it's useful to write every single day for a long time, but think, if these days are my free days, the days where I'm working, I'm gonna write this much, and be realistic. So if you're a student like I was when I started, if you have like a day job, you have like a couple of hours a day when you are busy. So be realistic. How much time do you need to rest and be strong again to start working? It's better just to work less hours but be at your 100% than work a lot but be very unmotivated because you want to rest.
Yeah, saying that, so that means you still write every day.
Me? No. I used to be like that. I thought that it was very important to write every single day.
Yeah.
But I found that was very bad for my mental health and I felt very stressed out. And like, writing is a job, but it should also be fun for you. So if it's not fun, why are you still doing it? So I found that it's better to be balanced. So now if I feel that I don't have like enough inspiration or like my writing is not good enough, I just take the day off and continue the next day. And I find that even though you're resting, you're writing more quickly, because when you're actually writing, like your head is fully into the writing mode and you can write a lot of words. And before I had like more hours of writing but less words because I didn't feel like motivated or like I didn't feel